Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of our live series, Ichi-go Ichi-e, a show where we discuss and present valuable insights about self-improvement, growth, and skill development. This show is brought to you by Team Bertho and the Youth Exchange South to South, aka Yes Girls Movement. In Team Bertho, we work on documenting the stages of understanding life through people's learning and pass them on as innovative, creative, and effective solutions for everyone to live their best life. Ichi-go Ichi-e is a Japanese four-character idiom meaning one time, one meeting, which represents the cultural concept of treasuring moments that are unrepeatable, because that's how our life is. Compilation of moments that are never to happen more than once, regardless of their impact. I'm your host, Fahmina Semonty, resource head of Team Bertho. The topic of today's live session is self-acceptance and its role in building our self-esteem. And today, our guest for the show is Sabah Elahi, the founder and hypnotherapist in Healing Journey with Sabah, which is a virtual forum delegating in mental health and wellness. Hello, Sabah.
Hi, Fahmina. Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm very well and very excited to be the first speaker for this series.
Okay. So before we start with the session itself, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Sabah Elahi. I like to introduce myself as a chartered accountant by profession and a hypnotherapist out of passion. I have been working in the corporate sector for over 12 years, and this will always be an integral part of who I am. I grew up in Pakistan, but I've been living abroad for over 12 years now. I was in London for about 5 years, and I've been living in the UAE for around 7 years now. So, I've been working in the corporate sector, and somehow I always had this feeling that I have to go very far, and there isn't enough time. So I kept running from one thing to the other in my competitive drive to get better than everyone else around me. And while at the same time sacrificing my own peace and mental health. So with COVID hitting last year, I decided to reflect inwards. And this made me stop and look around to see where I'd come so far, and if I was even going in the right direction. So I took the first steps on my own healing journey and trained as a hypnotherapist. I'm currently also training as a happiness coach.
Wow.
So shall I tell you a bit about my forum or in hypnotherapy before we start with the topic of today? I thought that would be a bit useful for the audience since the two go hand in hand.
Can follow through.
Sorry?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
so
I was saying that you tell us.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
so
tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, the connection is overlapping. That's why I'm sorry for interrupting so many times. Please carry on.
No problem at all. So like I was saying that, last year I decided to start reflecting inwards and start my own healing journey. And during these courses, I realized how powerful our mind is and how we can use it to change the way we look at things. So I created a virtual forum on Instagram by the name of Healing Journey with Sabah. And the aim of this forum is to spread mental health awareness and also to share my passion for hypnotherapy. I also aim to share self-help tools and provide hypnotherapy sessions to those interested in investing in their healing. So the obvious question that comes from there is, what is hypnotherapy? And before I explain what hypnotherapy is, I think what I need to explain is what is the mind, because this is not the same as our brain. So our mind is a spherical ball of energy, the center of which is the pit of our stomach. So it starts from our stomach and surrounds us almost like a ball of energy. This mind is then divided into two categories, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is what we use to talk, think, logic, and judge. The subconscious mind, on the other hand, is 6,000 times more powerful and stores all our experiences and beliefs from the time we were in our mother's womb to date. And also some of our ancestral memories, which have been transferred to us through our DNA. Between the two lie our critical conscience, These are our critical filters, which are a product of our conditioning, that is our socio-economic, educational, and religious upbringing. So as a hypnotherapist, if you come to me for therapy, I will work with your subconscious mind. I would take you into a state of hypnosis by creating a heightened state of awareness. And this will enable me to get access to your subconscious mind and find the root cause of the issue that you're facing today. This way, we are able to solve the problem and fix it at the point of origination. It takes around, on an average of 6 sessions to resolve an issue and has a success rate of 93% based on a study done by Alfred A. Boris. So many of you may have heard a lot of myths about hypnotherapy. So I just wanted to demystify some of them and tell you that this technique is very safe. It's very natural. It's totally non-invasive. So you have nothing to be worried about. This is not the same as hypnotism, which you have seen on TV, and I have no magical powers to make you into a duck. So when in hypnosis, you will just be more relaxed and receptive to any positive suggestions that I give you. You experience this state of trance multiple times during the day, but you're just not aware of it. So it's a very, very natural state, like I said, and there's no need to feel afraid, as there's no way I can make you tell my secrets, and you will I'll only know what you would like to share. So if you're interested in exploring hypnotherapy or would like to invest in your own progress, please message me on my page, and I have availability for sessions starting from August. Even if you don't want to sign up for therapy, you can follow my page for self-help tools, and together we can spread some love and light. So I think enough about me and hypnotherapy. Let's start with the topic of today, which is self-acceptance. Was there anything else that you wanted to ask, Fahmina, or shall I start with the topic?
No. The floor is completely yours. You lead your way.
Sure. Okay. So self-acceptance. I mean, these days we hear a lot of talk about self-love, self-care. However, self-awareness and self-acceptance is the first step on this journey of self-love. So let's demystify what we mean by self-acceptance. What is self-acceptance? It's awareness of one's strengths and weaknesses. It's a realistic appraisal of our talents and capabilities. It's satisfaction with oneself despite our deficiencies and regardless of our past behavior or choices that we've made in the past. And I mean, the reason you keep hearing about all this talk about self-love and self-care is because the most important relationship that you have in this world is with yourself. And this is going to set the tone for all your future relationships, whether it's relationship with your spouse or your family, whether it's relationship with your career or money. All of these relationships are defined by the tone of them is defined by the relationship you have with yourself. So that is the relationship that we all need to fix first. However, I mean, somehow just continue to look at ourselves and focus only on the things we lack instead of focusing on what we have. Social media, of course, doesn't help. No one is posting about their failures, and this makes us feel even more deprived. So just, I mean, while you listen to me, just take a little step back and ask yourself, is there anyone surely in this world who has it all? I mean, the answer is definitely no, because even the people you think that have it all are fighting their own battles. You just may not know about them, which is why you tend to see what's a version of their life that is out in the public, and you tend to feel deprived and focus on what you lack. So all of us just seem to have this ideal picture in our minds, and we keep striving for perfectionism in the illusion that this is what is needed to be happy. In this pursuit to become who we are not, we actually end up sacrificing our peace, mental and physical health in this process, and start getting further and further away from this happiness that we tend to seek. Do you guys often compare yourself to others and think that they have so much more than you? Do you feel pressured to be somebody else to please others around you? Do you feel you need to try really hard to fit in, or otherwise you may not be loved and accepted by others? Most of these worries in your life stem from one core limiting belief, and that is, I am not good enough, which then results in jealousy, anger, resentment, envy, or guilt of not being good enough. All insecurities come from this core belief that I am not good enough, whether it's based on how much money you're earning, how many friends you have, how beautiful or slim you are, or any other areas of your life, whether they're to do with your appearance, your performance, or social aspects of your life. We're always comparing ourselves to each other and putting ourselves in some sort of ranks, and are asked to look, and we're always asked to look at those less fortunate than us so that we can be grateful for our own blessings. But I mean, recently I've been asking myself that why is there a comparison? How can someone else's misfortune be needed to remind me of my blessings? Why do we need others who've got a little bit worse than us to somehow make us feel better? What we really need to do is look within us about what aspects of our lives, of ourselves, make us insecure. What are these things that we may not be comfortable with, and where are they coming from? Is it because we don't like those attributes and would like to make a constructive change to change these? Or is it just because somehow we got a shorter straw compared to others? And this is what's bothering us. We tend to be our biggest critics. So whether it's about, like I said, appearance, performance, or social aspects. And judgment is a product of our critical conscience, which, as I described earlier, between our conscious and subconscious mind, there's this layer of critical conscious. And this is what's making us judge situations. We tend to put things into buckets of right or wrong based on our own conditioning, which comes from, like I said, social, economic, educational, and religious upbringing. So the critical conscience is just sitting there like a judge, ready to give a verdict at the end of every day of how we failed, how stupid we are, how we may have messed up our life, and why we should be ashamed of ourselves. We then use the same criteria to judge others around us. We hear voices of our ancestors, parents, teachers, friends, and other guides and critics. And these voices tend to direct our lives. However, in the midst of all these voices, our own voice gets muffled till we gradually can't hear it anymore. So, if whoever is watching me today, let's just do a quick exercise. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Just sit very comfortably in your chair. Make sure your back is supported. And we're going to do a quick exercise to see what you may be struggling with. So just close your eyes and breathe in positive energy. And breathe out all the stress, anxiety, and tension that you've been holding on to. Every time you take a breath, put your hand on your belly. And when you breathe in, make sure your breath is reaching your belly. So just breathe in and breathe out. Do this 7 times till you see your body relaxing deeply and completely. And your mind becoming very, very calm. Now see a ball of white light slowly encompassing you from the top of your head, going down to your forehead, all the way down to your body, with each bit of your body relaxing. Once you're completely relaxed, think of one thing that you dislike about yourself, whether it's in areas of appearance, performance, or social aspects of your life. And once you've thought of this, keep repeating it in your head, as if someone is standing on the top of a mountain and is repeating this about you. And see this create a physical feeling of discomfort somewhere in your body as you think about these words and see how they make you feel. And as you do that and stay in touch with this feeling, the person responsible for this belief will come right in front of you, in your thoughts. So this is just self-reflection. Just do that. Ask yourself, whose voice is this? Whose voice comes to your head when you reject a certain part of you? Because it doesn't feel good enough. Which of these lies have you been believing all your life that has been limiting your true potential? Because it's these lies that you've been believing that result in low self-esteem, where you may feel you're not good enough. And you try and change yourself and overcompensate by going out of the way to please others. You need to let go of this limiting belief that has been programmed into your system so that you can move forward. Please know that you're enough. You're beautiful enough. You're strong enough. You're confident enough. You're good enough, just the way you are. You cannot be everyone's cup of tea, and you don't need to be. So just be who you are. Whether it's a cup of karak, chamomile tea, or just a simple cup of English breakfast. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for progression, and by no means am I suggesting that accept wherever you are in life and stop trying to move ahead. Our thoughts create our reality. So just change the way you look at things, and the things you're looking at will begin to change. Accept your weakness, the dark and evil parts within you. But focus on your strengths as you seek the light that lies deep within you. And there are no shortcuts and detours in this journey of self-love and self-improvement. Because until we accept all parts of ourselves, those parts that we dislike, those parts that we want to hide, those parts that we're not so proud of, there is no moving forward. Awareness, self-acceptance are the first steps towards self-love. And only when we love ourselves can we start loving anyone else fully. Only then can we fix our relationships, whether it's with our spouses, our families, our career, or even money for that matter. So that was it from my side. And before I move on to taking questions, I just wanted to suggest an affirmation for any of you who may be struggling with self-acceptance. And the one that I use for myself is, I love and accept myself just the way I am. So for affirmations, whenever you repeat these affirmations, you need to do them 21 times a day for 21 days. Usually it's better to do it at the same time every day so that your neural pathways start developing and your mind starts following that track. And when you feel it, it's very important to not just repeat it like clockwork, to actually, when you say this affirmation, to experience the feeling as to how would you feel when you're actually loving and accepting yourself. So when you repeat these words to yourself, just don't say them mindlessly. be very mindful, feel that in your body, and that's only when you'll see these affirmations work. So that was it for me. And I'm open for questions. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Sabah. It was very effective. And while I was sitting here, I actually followed through your hypnotherapy session as well. And it was really comforting. And I've never actually experienced anything like this before. So thank you very much from our viewers' side and also from my personal side.
You're most welcome, Fahmina. This was just, I wanted to include that just to give people a quick idea of what it feels like. Of course, when we do the session, you go in much, much deeper, but this is just to say that there's no woo-hoo about it. There's no magic there. It's just your own thoughts and your own mind that you learn to calm down and, to find your own voice that's muffled somewhere.
Okay, so we're going to cast questions. We're going to the question answer sessions now. One of our viewers asked this question: that what is a ritual that you have never skipped?
I'm not sure what that means. What do you mean, a ritual that I've never skipped?
I think he was trying to get at self-affirmation rituals or whatever, or the meditative rituals. That's what he was trying to get at.
I would say something that's very important for me personally is gratitude. So every morning when I wake up, people tend to do it in different ways. I'm not a very religious person, so I'm not saying my prayers regularly, but I do make sure that when I wake up in the morning, I wake up with the feeling of gratitude. And even if I didn't have a good night, I spend a good 5-10 minutes in my bed actually thanking myself, thanking the universe for whatever it is that I've gotten. And I think it really helps me change my perspective, because previously, before this, I used to wake up thinking another day, I have to wake up at this time. Why am I up so early? And now, as soon as I wake up, I just switch my thoughts from a negative thought to a positive thought to start my day well. So I think that's one thing that I try and do very regularly.
Another question was, Arshia Afsana asked, how did you develop your basic routine? Okay, this is actually a very common question amongst my peers and also people like me. I'm a student now. So it seems almost impossible to develop a routine and follow through. I can't even begin to tell you how many pages I have torn apart and scrambled all over on the trash can, and they were containing routines that I was supposed to follow, but I couldn't. So how did you develop your basic routine?
I think it's, in my personal opinion, I think people struggle with routines when you set yourself goals that are too unrealistic, right? So instead of biting things in small pieces, we tend to give ourselves a lot to do. And then we tend to be overcritical because we're always thinking, I set myself this goal and I haven't done it. So my basic advice would be to take things very small. And of course, when you're coming out of student life, you're used to doing things in a particular way. You're used to a more relaxed way of life. Some things are almost kind of enforced upon us, right? Like when we grow, as we grow older, we really don't have an option to, do I have an option not to show up at work at 9 a.m.? No. So it's almost like a stick approach also being followed, right? But what starts happening is that you start giving yourself small goals, right? You're saying, okay, if I'm going to do this in the morning, but then in the evening, perhaps I can give myself a little reward. So I always believe in these rewards, even when I'm doing things which I find are a struggle. I set myself a routine, I set myself goals, but I make sure that there is enough time in between so that I'm not so stretched that I find that routine as a burden. And I give myself little bits of relaxed time, plus also kind of like a reward in the end, right? So I would set, let's say, if I wanted to start yoga, I did that during COVID. So I was like, okay, I'm going to set myself a month's target rather than saying, I'm now going to do it for the rest of my life, right? Because as soon as you give yourself something that is forever, you start panicking. But if you give yourself like a target of a month and you say, okay, now for every month, I'm going to do this for a particular amount of time. The thing is, once you've done anything 21 times regularly, your habit is formed. After that, you're going to start missing it. So you just need to be consistent with that routine for 21 days. But of course, if you go in and say, oh, for those 21 days, I'm going to become a total robot and give myself so many different things, you're going to, crash at the end of the second or third day. So give yourself little bites. And then let's say you do one thing, if that's morning exercise, you do that for 21 days. After that, it'll start becoming second nature to you. And your body and mind will also accept that, oh, see, I set that goal for myself and I've now achieved. So now it's already ready to take on another goal. And then gradually, because again, this is a journey and not a race. We're not running anywhere and there's no competition. So a routine is to help us, not to prove a point to anyone else. So we need to take bite sizes of whatever we actually find comfortable, and it will be tailored for everyone. It'll be different.
Thank you very much. That was a very valuable insight for coming from you. Musrat Mritika asked, how you manage yourself when you are too emotional?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And Musrat, I would like to tell you, I am a very emotional person. If you ask my husband, he would still be saying that, are you really managing your emotions? So emotions are human, right? Like our emotions are what make us human. I think what the misconception is that to come across or to manage our emotions, we should suppress them. I totally disagree. I feel like whatever emotions we're going through, if we express them, we're not holding them onto our body and they're not going to come and haunt us at a later stage in our life, because it's what we repress today is what's going to create a problem for us in the future. But recently, as I've been learning to manage my emotions, every time I get triggered, I just take a step back. And I think to myself as to where is this thought coming from? For example, let's say I am in the car, right? And someone tries to cut me. Now, it's a very natural response to think like, oh, they're taking away my right to go. But it's a very basic thing. If it's happened to you first time in your life, it shouldn't trigger you that much, right? So if something is triggering you a lot, that definitely means that it has happened to you multiple times and it's leading to an idea in your mind that either you'll be taken for granted or no one gives you value. No, your right is not important. And the trigger goes back to a much younger self. And as soon as you realize that, you're able to manage your emotions, because you think like, oh, it's not about this situation. It's actually because I got hurt 5 years ago and I'm still holding on to that emotion. And this person just said a very simple thing to me, and I started getting all emotional. So as soon as this awareness starts coming to you, you still get emotional, but you're able to come out of it quicker. So, there's still times where I'm like, okay, now I need to allow myself this time because I am getting triggered and I'm human. There is no way that I'm not going to get triggered, but I can, not be angry. I can not make a public display of it. I can, go in a corner, take 5 minutes, deal with that emotion, understand where it's coming from, and, tell myself that, okay, I'm going to come to it. I'm going to find out where this is coming from and deal with it at that point. So, when I was younger, they used to say, oh, if you're angry, count till 7. The idea is like, you're just diverting your mind, right? And my quick tip, if this is a bit much, inwards reflection and all of that, is every time anything triggers you, just take a deep breath. But not just a simple deep breath. Take in a very deep breath. Make sure that the breath goes to your abdomen and it's filling in every cell of your body. Do this 7 times. By the time you're done breathing, you'll be asking yourself, why was I getting emotional?
Now, Mubashira Ishika asked, what you suggest to manage anxiety? That's also a very burning issue in people our age.
Yeah. So, Mubashira, anxiety is we decide, how would you describe anxiety, right? That's the first question. So if I think of anxiety, it's like these butterflies in my stomach, right? Like I wake up and I'm like, like something's happening, either in my heart, like I have this sinking feeling, or there are butterflies in my stomach. But it's not the same reason. There could be about 10 or thousands of reasons behind it, which is causing that butterflies in my stomach. So this anxiety can be real or it can be made up. What are examples of made up anxiety? When your mind is triggering anxiety from a situation that actually doesn't exist. So you're thinking, oh, what if I fail this exam? I mean, have you failed this exam yet? Well, you haven't, right? So worry about it when you failed it. So that is an anxiety that doesn't serve you because you're not in the present moment. You are somewhere in the future. Then there is real anxiety, right? So for real anxiety, if it's coming from something that's deep rooted, if you're actually struggling, someone who is very ill, they may be dying, your relationship is suffering, you are actually you see someone in your family financially struggle. So these things you need to obviously take proper therapy and deal with. But for anxiety that is coming from a future event that has not happened, it's quite a deep topic, but I'll try to sum it up. Basically, what happens is that your flight and fight syndrome is getting kicked, right? So when humans used to live in the wild, what would happen is every time we saw a trigger, let's say a bull running in our direction, our body is designed to either run or fight. Because, how else am I going to survive this bull, right? Now, in the real life, what started happening is that we have forgotten how to distinguish this wildlife bull from an angry boss or an unexpected exam an exam that's due tomorrow, or our mom shouting at us. And every single trigger from the environment makes our body think that there's a bull running in our direction. So at this moment, you need to just ground yourself and come back into the present moment and ask yourself that, is this threat real? Is there really a bull coming in my direction? Am I dying? If not, what is the worst situation that can happen, right? So then your mind tells you, okay, no, this is the worst situation. Then you just sit down and ask, okay, what is the probability of this situation happening? Once you've dissected that probability, then you go and check yourself, okay, is there anything in my control that I can do at this point to let go, to handle the situation so that this event doesn't happen? Of course, if there's anything in your control, like if you can study and stop yourself from failing that exam, that is what you need to do. But if there's absolutely nothing that you can do because now you've given the exam and you're only waiting for the result to come, then you just need to have faith in the universe, and you need to just say that I surrender to the universe. You just have to take a few deep breaths, and you've said that this is no longer in my control. Whatever is in my control, I've done it. But it just takes training your mind to these little things. But sometimes even that awareness that you're sitting there and thinking like, okay, is there a real threat? Because our mind cannot distinguish between the two, which is why anxiety keeps getting triggered and triggered and triggered in like almost cycles. Does that answer the question, or is there any other follow-ups on that question?
Yeah, I think it answers the question perfectly.
Okay.
Before I go to Ahmed Sajid, I have one for you.
Sure.
That is how there are a lot of trauma that we have to go through our lives. So how is hypnotherapy going to help us trace those traumas?
So what happens, Fahmina, is that, by trauma, do you mean like, give me an example of a trauma, and then I'll give you like a more.
Okay, I'm going to go a little bit dire over here. Let's say one of my friend was sexually assaulted when she was 6 years old by a very close family friend, or the person was almost like her uncle. So in that case, she was 6 and she was very little, and now she's 21 or 23, or around our age. So how is she? Yeah. But that trauma she's still carrying the burden of that trauma for the past 20 years of her life, almost 20 years of her life. So how is she going to trace those trauma, as how is she going to get rid of them?
Yeah. So what we do is we would take, by inducing this state of trance, we would take the person back to that state of trauma. And whatever they experience at that time, because what happens in such cases is it's not just trauma. There is, I mean, such victims, either they have guilt, right? Because they feel that even if they were young, there's something that they could have done to stop the situation. So they're carrying that guilt in their system, right? Secondly, of course, they have anger, right, against this particular person who happens to be a family member and has obviously used them in such a negative manner. Thirdly, there could be basic self-esteem issues stemming from the fact that, you know, they've obviously, their boundaries have been violated and they've been mishandled in a particular way. So all of these things remain unresolved. Now, what we do is we take the person back to the situation. So in a state of trance, we're able to dig down into your memory and almost recreate that situation for you and give you the resources that you didn't have at that time. So we almost like you kind of rewriting your life in that path, right? And if you didn't cry, if you didn't express yourself, because obviously this therapy cannot change the situation, right? The situations happen. There's no way for us to change it. But the emotions that remained unresolved, because probably till, like, I mean, if she was 6, maybe till 15, 16, she never even told anyone. She was still dealing with that. Even when she told anyone, no one had the proper professional mechanism to guide her as to what it meant, that it wasn't her fault or it wasn't, what the situation was. Sometimes when we go back, there are things that we do in hypnotherapy in which people, we almost like create a simulation, right? So like, you know how you punch a punching bag? So in therapy, we create these simulations for them, in which case they're able to vent out all of this anger against this particular person, right? Like I would say to people, oh, do you want to like punch this person? Do you want to kick them because you weren't able to do it back then? And people do that, and they find it's like catharsis. They find it very, very relieving to be able to let go of all of this emotional burden that they've been holding onto their body, whether it's anger or guilt or resentment. And I mean, then again, with therapy, the other thing that we do is we make them realize that, you know, things happen to us for a reason. Even if it was something as unfair as being sexually assaulted as 6 years old, I mean, we come into this world with a lot of baggage from the past, or we come into this world to learn a few lessons. And this is the only way to, even though it may sound unfortunate, we take wisdom from what that incident brought to our life and how to change our way forward now that we have that wisdom. So there are a few things that we work with. There's quite a variety of techniques that we would use to help them deal with that. But it is quite powerful, and it's very, very cathartic when people are able to do this and, you know, finally almost kind of face their oppressor.
Thank you very much for your beautiful answer. Ranita Parin asked, what should I do when I'm having severe instability leading a regular life? Can't get a grip to stand up after having a big shock in life.
So if for instability, I think the idea is to first ground ourselves, right? Because when we feel that our reality is shaken, we need to reestablish our connection with the earth. So I would suggest basic grounding meditations to just bring yourself back to the present. Because what's happened is, I mean, the shock, even if it was very severe, if it was in the past, right? There's nothing that we can possibly do to go back into the past to change the shock. But our mind keeps reliving that memory over and over again. So what we need to do is we need to bring ourselves back into the present moment. This can be through meditations. It can be through, I mean, only this morning I was thinking of basic grounding techniques, you know, when you just walk on grass barefoot, right? And you actually feel the earth touch your feet, or you dip your feet into the water when you're walking on the beach, or you just sit in the sun to re-establish your connection with the earth. And as you start becoming more and more stable, of course, if it's a big shock, I would suggest that you do take therapy for it, to allow yourself to deal with it. If it's grief, if it's the shock of losing someone that you may have lost, I mean, give yourself the time to heal and grieve, because I mean, in grief, there are like 5 stages of loss that we have to go through. So for a long time, we're in denial. We can't even accept that this thing has happened. So over time, you go into from denial to anger to bargaining to finally accepting the grief. If the shock is coming from something like that, which is, and grief, by grief, it's not only losing a loved one. It can be grief of losing a job. It can be grief of losing a relationship, a divorce. So all of these things, we do need to take time, and I mean, we do need to seek professional help. I would say the sooner you do that, the sooner you'll thank yourself to be able to, because you allowed yourself to heal and deal with that shock. And I mean, the thing with therapy is like, even like people like me who are training as therapists, we still need therapists, right? Because there's no way I can still deal with all of my own emotions. Like the more aware I become, the more issues I actually start finding. And we all need these guides and coaches and therapists to hold our hands in a time when we're struggling.
Thank you. Again, Jinatul Ila, we're going to take two more, our last two questions from the viewers now. So the second last is going to be, it's Jinatul Ila asking how to stop self-blaming. And what about controlling anger and overthinking also?
Okay. So for self-blaming, I think it's guilt, right? So that comes back to the entire discussion that I was doing about self-acceptance, that even if there's a part of you that you're not so proud of, even if there is a part of you that you think is evil, that you think is dark, it's accepting that all of us have these evil and dark parts. It's just that no one is going out and showing these vulnerabilities, that we tend to blame ourselves and we feel like, oh, I am so bad, I did this. But everyone has these little shades of dark in their life. So the sooner we start accepting, the sooner we stop looking at things as like black and white and thinking that, oh, this is so wrong, is how we start taking responsibility. And for guilt, what I typically say to people is that the idea is to accept what you did and find the learning from it. Because you cannot, again, go back and change the situation. But if you were talking to a friend, let's say, what advice would you give them? What is the lesson that you've learned from this situation that happened? And how can you make your life better going forward? So that is for self-blaming. For anger, I mean, anger is a very, very helpless response. When I think of anger, I think of a person who is struggling so much, but even like not even able to express it, right? So his response is anger. Now, in this situation, there is a post, Jinatul, actually, it's, if you follow my page, there is a post it's called a Hawaiian technique of Ho'oponopono. So I've detailed all of the steps in that post, and you'll find it very useful, because people who are making us angry are actually, we need to thank them, because they're actually bringing to our attention a part of us that is unhealed. And that, I think that will really help you with managing your anger. Overthinking then is just, overthinking is just our mind creating a problem that doesn't exist, right? So it's almost going into a loop, because we think that as long as we're thinking, we're doing something constructive. And the minute we stop thinking, if we don't have a plan A and B, then, are we even good enough? So for that, what I would say is again, it's little steps, right? So first of all, if you tend to overthink and over worry, maybe designate a worry time for yourself. So say, okay, 10 minutes, I'm going to sit and worry about this problem. After that 10 minutes, my job's done. I've spent enough time. I've done justice to this thing. And now I'm going to stop thinking about it. Secondly, you're also, again, overthinking, try to break that loop as to where you keep going, what if, what is the probability of or any of that even happening, right? So the idea is to try and break that loop. Okay, so how can I concentrate on one particular thing? Ahmed, concentration if your mind is, again, thinking a lot, right? And it's not allowing you to focus on something. So there are meditations that you can use to concentrate. We also do hypnotherapy sessions to increase concentration. Again, I think you can give yourself small tasks. You can give yourself small goals to train your mind to concentrate rather than trying to concentrate for hours. Maybe say, okay, for 15 minutes, I'm going to concentrate on this. Another thing I would say is maybe try not to do it. Try not to feel that, oh, I cannot concentrate, and see how that goes for you. I find that useful at times, that if I'm not putting myself under pressure, I tend to do much better than I normally do. Okay, what lessons in life?
Mushidullah, this is probably our last question. I said we're going to take 2 questions, but we're taking 3
Sure, no problem.
instead. So the last one is, what lessons in life took you the longest to learn? This is a good one. I mean, in my opinion, I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, it's quite a deep question. I mean, I would like to.
It's almost philosophical.
Yeah, and there's still a lot more.
It's gonna make you ponder for a long time.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, the lesson that I actually shared with Team Bertho for my post that I posted is the lesson that actually took me the longest to learn, and a part of me is perhaps still learning it, right? Because I've always been looking for that, that moment when life is going to be perfect, for that moment when I'm going to achieve it all. And I mean, it was actually, with COVID and everything I talked about, but to be honest, the minute it actually hit me that there is, this life is too short, when I lost my dad, which was 5 years ago. And I realized that, we make so many plans, we make so many ideas of things that we're going to do. And I mean, who knows whether, obviously it's a very cliched way of saying, if tomorrow never comes, let's live each day like today. It is very cliched, but it started having meaning for me. And it started thinking, like, even when I started this hypnotherapy work, people have been asking me, oh, what is your vision? Where do you see it going? And I'm like, I don't know. And for once, I actually don't care. I'm enjoying every day. I'm enjoying whatever comes my way. And I think that is the right way to live. Because, we keep waiting for that perfect moment. And when you get to that moment, it's still never perfect. Because perfection is the most elusive thing in this world. So the biggest lesson is just enjoy today. Enjoy the imperfection of today, because like you said, this is one meeting, even I really like the logo of your series. This time will never come back. No matter what you do, the same moment can never be replicated. And it has its own joys, it has its own problems, but that's what makes it beautiful, right? The uniqueness of it.
Because you and me, we're probably going to meet again, but this session is never going to happen. The discussions we're having today, it's not going to come again. We're going to talk about new things. We're going to learn new things about each other. And definitely, I'm going to learn so much from you. But this particular moment is never going to come back. Yeah. And, one thing I really want to mention about that what you said about perfection, that actually perfection is very elusive. So why don't we just focus on the great good things in our life and not focus on the perfect thing? Because even if we do focus on the perfect thing, it's just one. But if we focus on the great good things in life, they can come in plenty. So when we can have more than one, why focus on just one thing, right?
Yes. And I would say, let's strive for excellence and not perfectionism, because there's no such thing as perfect.
Okay, Sabah, I'm incredibly blessed, and I say I'm very honored to be hosting this session with you and to be having this conversation with you. So I'm going to ask for the people who are, I'm not going to say viewers, because actually the ones who watched this session today actually got help from you. So I'm just going to say the people who got help and inspiration from you today, what if they want to book a hypnotherapy session with you? What are the procedures there? Can you share with us?
Yeah, so I have, at the moment I only have an Insta forum by the name of Healing Journey with Sabah. what I do offer is a free 30-minute consultation for people, just so that they can, I mean, obviously you get to see me here, but to ensure that you connect with me and I'm the right therapist for you. Because of course, if I'm not, then I want you to actually get help, and there's no incentive in me in working with someone who may not connect with me. So the idea of the 30 minutes is to help people do that. And after that, what I usually suggest is that we need about 6 sessions. I don't do single sessions. I would ask people to sign up for at least 3, because that's when we actually start seeing the effect of it. So yeah, so you sign up for a package of 3. If you sign up for a package of 6, then I can give you some discount as well. The thing is that for July, I'm not going to be doing any sessions. So it'll be starting from August, because I'm just upskilling, and I'm also just taking a happiness coaching class. So I want to, so this entire month I'm going to be studying myself. But of course, after August, feel free to DM me. I mean, you can feel free to DM me now as well. And we can, of course, schedule consultations for August. I mean, that is open. And I would be happy to help for people who do not want to take proper therapy. Even then, I would say, please follow my page, because my idea is to, like I said, I work as a chartered accountant in the corporate sector. So there's only so much sessions that I can do. But this comes from here. I passionately want to create mental health awareness, and that's why I want to spread it through the page and help as many people as I can through my posts, through other videos, or my idea is to post a lot of self-help tools where people can help themselves rather than paying for therapy, because it's not. Especially for students, I don't think it's very affordable for them as well to keep paying for these sessions. So through self-help tools, I think people can, choose to invest in themselves that way.
I follow you on Instagram, and I have been, I just started following you in Instagram for like 2 to 3 days now. And the posts that you have shared, actually, they provide valuable insights. So the people who are watching, I request you to follow. If you have an Instagram account, please do follow Sabah on Healing Journey with Sabah. It's an incredible forum, and she's just incredible. She's beautiful. She's magnificent, I can say, because I don't even know if people would want to book the sessions, but just the posts, the tools that she's providing in the Instagram account, they're going to be so very helpful for you. So Sabah, before we end today's session, how was your experience with us today?
Fahmina, it was amazing. I'm so proud of you guys. I saw the award that you got in the Dyna Award as well. And so really proud of you guys. And I think you're doing a great job. And the series also, I think it feels very professional, very well done. So, it gives me great pride to actually start this session with you. And thank you for all your kind words about my page. Really, really appreciate it. And the page, if people don't have Instagram, I have the same page linked to Facebook as well. So you can join it on Facebook and get insights into the same posts. And one thing I did want to say to you is my parents used to live in Bangladesh. So when I saw you guys and when Murshid approached me, it's like, I've never been there myself, but that's where both my dad's and my mom's side of the family, they were there before 71. They used to live in Dhaka. So I was thinking today that if my dad was here, I would have called him and told him that I was doing a session with you guys, and he would have been very proud.
The world is really round, and the journey, our journeys are intertwined.
Yes.
This is all we can say. So thank you very much, Sabah. And for the viewers who are watching, I really, I believe that today, if you watch the video from beginning to the end, everything that Sabah said today, it's gonna provide you valuable insights, and it's gonna help you. And I know that every person, from their first moment to their last, not only we carry a lot of burdens and we have to go through a lot of traumas, but also we can actually receive valuable lessons from these traumas only if we know the right approach. And Sabah can help us walk through that right approach. So follow Sabah on Instagram or on Facebook, and follow us, the Team Bertho, and our following sessions of Ichi-go Ichi-e. Thank you very much. Sabah, thank you very much for being here with us tonight. And
Thank
we
you,
hope to
Fahmina.
see you soon. We
Yeah,
hope to see
sure.
you soon. And what can we say? That it was a pleasure to be here with you.
Same here. It is my pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for initiating thing. It's a great initiative.
So it's night time in Bangladesh almost. So I'm not going to say good night because I'm just going to say that have a, get a good night's sleep for tonight and really ponder on what the discussion was about. And I really hope that we got to bring help to your directions. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.